Secret Harbour, Singleton, Golden Bay, Medora Bay, Port Kennedy, Carnup and Lakelands. My name is Paul Gullan and I'm running as an independent candidate in the Secret Harbour by-election. I'm the founder of Decriminalise Nature WA. Decriminalise Nature. How the fuck did we let them criminalise nature in the first place? And if I'm elected, I'll be advocating for laws to be based on scientific, medical and statistical facts and not the lies those who seek to addict have been feeding us for far too long. Entheogenic plants and fungi containing DMT, mescaline, psilocybin, and with care, ibogaine, are amongst the safest drugs in the world, non-addictive, and yet in Western Australia they are the most illegal. They are the most healing also. They are the best tool available on the planet for healing a vast array of addictions and mental illnesses. At Decriminalise Nature, our main objective is improving well-being in society, reducing suffering, loneliness, addiction, and hopefully one day eliminating suicide. If any of you have lost or have had a family member, friend, or yourself who is suffering from end-of-life anxiety, suicidal tendencies, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, anorexia, addiction to anything, and it is or has ruined your lives, you have a reason to be very angry because nature provides the cures or healing that will save millions of lives, but our political people, they are owned by corporate greed and the lobbyists. So at Decriminalise Nature WA, we've been lobbying and petitioning the state and federal government for major drug law reform, but we may as well be banging our heads against a brick wall. Just as much satisfaction. When you speak truth to power and are ignored, their complacency becomes complicity. When we provide politicians with scientific, medical and statistical facts and they still bury their heads in the sand, that inaction is tantamount to state-sanctioned murder. It is official, Australia has a suicide and drug overdose epidemic. 3,326 Australian souls, 9 per day, committed suicide in 2024. 2,596 Australian souls, 7 per day, died from drug overdose in 2024. 3 people are dying every day from opioids alone, and Big Pharma are killing more than organised crime. 0 deaths. 0 deaths. Ever in the Pennington Report or the ABS from psychedelic plants and fungi overdoses. Full stop. Australian Bureau of Statistics and the Pennington Institute report on drug overdose deaths in Australia confirms of the 1,083 opioid overdose deaths in Australia in 2024, 55% were from doctors' prescriptions and 45% were from street heroin. Big Pharma is officially the second largest killer of Australians between the age of 20 to 49 years of age. The biggest killer in this age group is suicide. Ironically, the safest drugs in Australia with no overdose deaths ever in these reports happen to be the most effective tools on our planet of reducing the highest 2 causes of death in this group, suicide and drug addiction. Entheogenic, psychedelic plants and fungi. Entheogenics a name that was made up because psychedelics was considered stigma from the 60s and 70s, but that's what they are. Entheogenics are psychedelics. Our government has to pull its head out of the sand and invest massive funding into research, at the same time decriminalising psychedelic plants containing DMT, psilocybin, mescaline, and with extra care, ibogaine. The evidence is clear. They are not addictive and no known overdose amount. 0 deaths, and they have breakthrough medical status in the USA, so they do not belong in Schedule 9. And any government who insists they do is killing its citizens to appease its donors and owners. Big Pharma, big alcohol, big tobacco, big gambling, and even Coke and Pepsi, etc. They used to put cocaine in Coke because they want to addict, and then they just do whatever they can to addict now, and it's still going on. So, yeah, it's a shame that the government is killing its citizens through complicity. The war on drugs has definitely failed. It's time for a total overhaul of our drug policy. Nixon's war on drugs in 1971, which the UN and Australia blindly followed, was probably the biggest crime against humanity that's ever occurred. Not only did the war on drugs cease all research into the most promising medical breakthroughs in medicine since penicillin in the form of psychedelics healing potential, but a far greater side effect to the healing powers of these powerful plant medicines was a side effect that the military industrial complex could not survive. And it is of an entire generation awakening and saying to power, we will not fight in your wars, we will not kill our fellow man, and we will not work in your military industrial complex of building killing machines for the 1% who manufacture consent and send the poor to war for greed and profits to massage their egos. Big Pharma, prescription drugs now kill more Australians than illicit drugs. Legal drugs like alcohol, tobacco, Panadol, and sugar kill even more. WA has the highest rate of amphetamine prescriptions to our kids in the world. We have the honour of being the meth capital of Australia with up to 3 times more the national average, and we are the meth capital of the world. That is something we should wear with a badge of honour on how successful the current war on drugs is going for the Australian government. Our government come in and keep drugs out of our prisons, so how's it ever going to protect our kids on the streets? 70% of the drug spending by the government goes on policing, prosecuting, and incarcerating, so no wonder our jails are overflowing. It's high time to redivert the war funds to educating and rehabilitating to break the cycle of addiction with the aid of the greatest tool we have, entheogenic plants and fungi. Our fallen citizens do not choose to become addicted. The system is designed for them to be addicted. Most people who fall into addiction, as confirmed by ABS stats, are from lower socioeconomic areas, and as the socioeconomic improvements rise, the overdose deaths fall. This is extremely consistent, except for one anomaly. The elites in the wealthier suburbs die from cocaine overdose more than the poor. Go figure. So that's why cocaine's so expensive, and that's why the rich die from it. My heart bleeds for them. Addiction has to be treated as a mental health issue because a lot of these people are victims of abuse, rape, bad parenting, wrong area code, etc. And the government should be wrapping its arms around the fallen members of society. But what it does instead is kick them whilst they are down, give them criminal records, make employment impossible, and create multi-generational disadvantage. And this is especially more prevalent in Indigenous communities, and especially Indigenous youth are in some areas 4 times more likely to commit suicide or die of drug overdoses. So 600 to 800 people die every day just because of gambling. Every year just because of gambling. And 200 by suicide. So 200 people are dying by suicide every year because of gambling. So when Peter Murphy released her report to her so-called Labor friends on gambling in June 2023, she called for immediate action and over a 3-year period to phase out all gambling advertising in 4 phases, with the goal in July 2026 there would be no advertising addicting our kids for life to potential suicide for greed of evil predators. It's now 2 months beyond that time. It's the 13th of August 2026. And Peter Murphy's long gone, and her Labor friends have betrayed her. And they're offering phase 1 reluctantly whilst being skull dragged by the morally superior Greens, and the anti-anything to justify its pitiful existence Liberals. So there you go. I'm running for independent for Secret Harbour, and if you vote for me, that's what I'm going to fight for. Decriminalise nature. How the fuck did they criminalise nature in the first place? And the straw that broke the camel's back, which made me run, was that the Therapeutic Goods Association is going to withhold psilocybin from people with terminal diagnosis who are suffering end-of-life anxiety. And it's such a debilitating thing, and you've lived your life and you're about to die and you're terrified of dying, and medicine that's been used since we come down from the trees and evolved from monkeys into human beings, which has temporarily been taken away from us, and it's not dangerous or in any way, shape or form, and you don't have a right to try. And the TGA advisory panel says that terminally ill patients do have a right. They have a right to choose voluntary assisted dying. What a fucking joke. So you got the right to end your life early and put yourself out of the misery. If you're terrified of dying, then kill yourself early so your terror fucking lasts less. What a fucking joke. So, yeah, I just cannot understand what sort of society or what sort of greed or evil is out there. This panel who recommends that dying people don't have a right to try, something that's proven to, in 80% of cases, over decades of research, that's going to remove the end-of-life anxiety and give them primary religious, spiritual, magical, or mystical experience that's going to be one of the best experiences in the whole entire life, equal to childbirth or something like that. And they're going to say, no, you can't have it. Why are they saying that when it's not dangerous? They must be owned because they don't want the word to get out how good these cures are. It's the evil, greed, corruption. Unfortunately, that's what capitalist system is all about. It's all about profits. I'm not saying we got to end capitalism, but we've got to have compassion with capitalism. We can't just ignore scientific medical, just statistical facts. So, okay. Please vote 1, Paul Gullan, independent, Decriminalise Nature Western Australia, in the Secret Harbour by-election on the 29th of August. Namaste. Authorised by Paul Gullan, 10 Helmsley Way, Port Kennedy. Thank you.